The Day of Unity has finally arrived, and while I can't say I've been excited to watch Belos try to suck the Boiling Isles dry, this episode has given us a lot of things to speculate on. We gotta talk about what's going on between Alador and Odalia Blight, loses Palisman, what the heck is happening in the in-between realm, and the potential rat and the cats. You're watching WhitneyVision, and this is our breakdown of Clouds on the Horizon. This is your spoiler warning! If you haven't watched Season 2, Episode 20 of The Owl House yet, hit pause on this video and come back once you've gotten to the end of the Hex Mix trail. On to the breakdown. Crikey, y'all. Obviously, we have to start with the fact that Lumity kissed on the lips! Man, there really is nothing quite like the impending destruction of the magic realm to make you realize what's important in life, like smooching your sweet cotton candy-haired girlfriend. I'm truly not sure why Luz was temporarily imbued with the words of Steve Irwin in the aftermath of their kiss, but I love it. They're just so freaking cute! I need an extended full episode with creator commentary of their slice-of-life first real date. You can also see just how much love and care the TOH team has for this moment too, upping the animation big time just like they had for Lumity's dance. The episode kicks off with a glimpse inside the Titan's skull, where Belos has relocated his portal as hinted at in Them's the Breaks Kid. Here, the Collector impishly asks him if he's nervous about returning to the human realm, especially because the Emperor has gotten so used to eating Palisman that he can barely maintain his human shape any longer. When Belos extends one of his gross, drippy arms to punch at the Collector, he struggles to pull it back and return it to its usual form. We're seeing bone in this form of Belos now, which implies, via the detail of this body horror, that his shapeshifting is hella painful. Also, notice that his bones here have the same coloration as his pockmarks. Are we actually looking at pieces of his skeletal system here? Personally, I think that this is a great way to show just how corrupted Belos has physically become, with even his bones turning from ivory to a brownish sangria. Interestingly, however, the Collector seems to be growing increasingly distrusting of Belos as the Day of Unity approaches. They beg him to release them so that they can finally play together after hundreds of years of scheming. But Belos shuts their request down, insisting that the draining spell provided by the Collector works properly before they can be freed. And later on in the episode, when King makes another subconscious journey to the in-between realm, you can hear the Collector questioning whether or not Belos would lie to them. Buddy, Belos is willing to lie with a smile to an entire realm of magical people. It's likely that he's willing to lie to you too, even if you are an otherworldly deity. You've been working together for hundreds of years. You gotta catch these red flags sooner. Belos is like a mean girl in high school. If he talks smack about other people to your face, there's a 100% chance that they're talking about you behind your back to other people. If he's dedicated his entire life on the Boiling Isles to this scheme, it's entirely possible that he'll simply discard the Collector when he finishes using them. Signs are pointing to Belos backstabbing the Collector once he gets the draining spell going, but I don't think my money is on the Emperor winning that exchange. Based on what we heard from King's link to the Collector, that ancient trickster spirit's impatience is making them consider a new game. What's that new game? Well, we're getting a bunch of foreshadowing that King and the Collector are gonna share a major plot point in the near future. Also, we've spent the better part of this episode with a sidelined King seeking the means to help cats, so I think that we might see our little Titan strike a deal with the Collector, saving the day but causing a bigger crisis as the Collector finds the means to break free from their interdimensional prison. Back at what looks to be the building across from Bonesborough Precinct 206, the same precinct in Letissa from Hunting Palisman, the members of Covens Against the Throne are meeting in secret. It's explained that Ida can be the key to stopping Belos' draining spell with her owl curse. Because Ida's curse corrupts any magic it encounters, like we saw in Ida's Requiem, Raine proposes that Ida take the place of one of the Coven heads so that when it comes time to perform the spell, she can poison the magic itself, stopping Belos from completing it. Doing so will mean that Ida must be branded with the Bard symbol, as Coven Scouts are checking every witch's sigil to make sure that no wild magic survives the ceremony. Ida instantly, eagerly agrees to do anything to stick it to Belos, despite the fact that she's officially closing the door to any possibility that her curse might heal, and that she might be able to practice bad girl magic again someday. Based on the Hexside Gang's interaction with Kikimora later in the episode, when she reveals that the Emperor's Coven knows that the cats are plotting to sneak Ida into the draining spell, it seems like there might be a mole working for Belos within cats. Is it one of the Coven heads? Is it Steve? Tell me it isn't Mytholomule's cool guy brother. Don't take this introspective biker boy with a heart of gold from us this soon. It's my favorite genre of man. Not only is using a double agent to brand Ida the kind of thing that a calculating Belos would definitely do, we literally just saw the Illusion Coven head attempt a similar dirty trick on the students at Hexside. His actors convinced Principal Bump and the kids that they needed to get fake Coven sigils branded on them in order to fool the Coven scouts into thinking that they were already part of the Emperor's plans. If Gus hadn't broken the illusion, Edric may have ended up with the world's most negatively consequential tattoo since the one that Pete Davidson got for Ariana Grande before they broke up. What if one of the members of Cats is trying this exact same ploy on Ida? Ida has always been a thorn in Belos' side. Finally getting her branded could make her that much easier to take off the board. This, of course, would point to Raine being the traitor, possibly still under the sway of Terra's tea, because they were the ones to insist that Ida get her sigil. There are a lot of suspicious reaction shots of Raine in this episode, and we know that they are the world's worst actor. But after carefully investigating, I think that this is another classic Owl House red herring. Or at least I'm hoping so. These shots aren't Raine attempting to lie. They're a tell that Raine is uncomfortable with placing Ida in harm's way. Raine has always shown their protective side when it comes to Ida. They even stopped Ida from deleting Darius and Eber in a self-sacrifice that was essentially the same plan they have for the Day of Unity. Yes, now the entire Boiling Isles has their backs against the wall, but I don't think that Raine can go through with putting Ida into this position willingly, especially with Luz pulling them to the side to promise to keep Ida safe. Ida's position as a mother figure for Luz was the big reason Raine stopped Ida back in Ida's Requiem. Being reminded that she has kids is certainly going to make Raine feel distressed. That said, whenever we're in a scene inside the Cat's HQ, you'll notice that your eyeline is being drawn to a sprig of foliage hanging in bright contrast to the gray walls. This isn't just any old plant. That right there looks like a snapdragon. As in Terra Snapdragon, Plant Coven mommy, Belos' closest ally, and known manipulator of her fellow Coven heads. It would be totally possible that Terra is utilizing Plant Coven magic to subtly mind control a member of Cats. Alternatively, she might somehow be able to use this Snapdragon to spy on them without their knowledge, in a similar way that Lilith used Potion Coven magic to spy on Belos in the first episode of the season. Honestly, even without Terra in the picture, this sort of scrying could explain how Kikimora is wise to Cat's plans. Still, I think we're gearing up for a big final showdown between Raine and Terra in the finale, so I strongly feel like this Snapdragon isn't a coincidence. But if the place is bugged, doesn't that mean that someone had to betray the Cats to plant the bug? If I had one suspect, I guess it'd be Darius, simply because he's seemingly looking at the Snapdragon in the background of this scene. But again, a betrayal by Darius is so incongruous to all of the character development we've received from him this season. Eberwolf has nearly zero character development here, so it's unlikely to be them. And the Bards Against the Throne members also wouldn't be very emotionally impactful. Ah man, it really feels like Raine is the mole here. I hope not. That said, I think we're not getting the full story with Raine's plotline this episode. I think we're only being led to believe that Raine is making a mistake by branding Ida so that she can replace them in the draining ritual. We know from Darius's plan and Ida's Requiem that Ida doesn't need to be marked with a sigil in order to corrupt the drained magic. She just needs to be on the tower. Raine suggests branding Ida because they believe it's the easiest plan to sneak her in. But Storytelling 101 says that the easy plan isn't gonna work anyways. In fact, we already know it's compromised. Instead, I think that the big twist will be that Ida and Raine didn't go through with the branding. Throughout this whole episode, we're seeing Raine struggle with sacrificing Ida. And although Ida is stoic and ready to do what has to be done to stop Belos, I think Luz's request to keep Ida safe finally hits Raine, just as Ida is about to be branded. By the same movie logic as No Body, No Death, we don't actually see Ida get branded in this scene. Instead, I think Raine stops Steve from branding Ida, opting to forge a riskier path to the tower if it means saving Ida from the certain death of corrupting the draining spell. Is this just wishful thinking on my end? Maybe. But when we do see Ida after this, she mysteriously doesn't have a brand on her arm. Could that just be an animation error? Possibly. This season has been pulling the weight of wrapping up so much of the series in a short window of episodes that things like a wrist tattoo could fall through the cracks. But we've seen the Coven brands everywhere in this episode, even on Kikimora's tiny wrist in a wide shot. I'm holding out hope that this means that Ida is gonna stop Belos bad girl Coven style, unabashedly untamed. Speaking of that little gremlin, over at Blight Industries, Kikimora is picking up a shipment of their new abomatons to use as security for the Day of Unity. Amity, Edric, and Emira are caught spying on the transaction, and their mom grounds them indefinitely with extra abomaton lockdown detail. She's like, "Oh, Amity, you're so predictable for hiding behind a pile of trash." Ugh, she's totally the worst. When Alador voices his concern about the amount of force they're supplying Belos, Odalia menacingly touches her oracle brooch and threatens that she'll go back on the deal she made with her husband if he keeps pestering her. Although they don't spell out word for word exactly what kind of bargain they made with one another, I interpreted their deal to be that Odalia wouldn't force their kids to start working for Blight Industries before graduating Hexside, and in return, Alador would keep churning out money-making, ethically questionable products for her to sell. Stressed out by how bitchy Odalia is being, coupled with the twinge of worry he's starting to feel over the Day of Unity, Alador retreats to a nearby swing set outside of the factory for a snack break. This is very relatable to me because I too eat every single salty snack I can find when I'm anxious. While Luz and the rest of the crew sneak into the factory to find Amity's dad, King actually follows the trail of Hex Mix wrappers to find Alador taking a break. I love how when the two are swapping stories about absentee fatherhood, the wind picks up to swing King on the swing set, a subtle nod to how his father's spirit permeates the aisles themselves, showing that he would have taken care of his son if he had been alive. Side quest, the rat eating crackers in Alador's workroom looks exactly like him. At first, I was like, is Amity's dad cursed by a tiny rat beast? Is this Alarat? Ratador Tui? But based on the fact that King saw the trail of wrappers leading to the swings before this little guy came on screen, I think it's more likely that this is Alador's Palisman. Either that or Daddy Blight gives all the rodents that pass through his lab tiny safety goggles and wigs to protect their itty-bitty peepers from abomination goo, which would honestly be equally adorable. I also love that after Alador himself finishes eating his snacks, he tears up the wrappers into pieces, kind of like a little rodent. After vowing to spend more time with his children after the Day of Unity, King gently drops a gigantic truth bomb on Alador, that Belos is planning to use a draining spell to wipe all magic from the Boiling Isles. Like any normal person would after hearing this information, he and King race back to the factory to warn Odalia that Belos is using their product for evil. But to everyone's surprise, except probably us viewers at home, it turns out that Odalia knew what Emperor Belos was planning the entire time and just didn't care. She's so naive and blinded by dollar signs that she actually believes that their family will be rewarded by Belos in the aftermath. Newsflash, dude, Belos doesn't care if you're the goddamn Mark Cuban of the Boiling Isles. He's erasing everyone's magic, yours included. There's not gonna be an after the Day of Unity if the Emperor isn't stopped. Realizing that this is her opportunity to seize the Golden Guard and drag him back to Belos, Kikimora uses her newly gifted Abomatron to capture Hunter. But Luz thinks fast and asks Gus to cast an illusion that will Freaky Friday the two of them, switching places to make sure that she can protect both Ida and the Emperor's latest Grimwalker. When the illusion wears off, Hunter tells Amity and Alador that the plan unfolded so fast he barely knew what was happening until Luz was taken. But if you're a nerd like me, you want to know the exact moment that this switcheroo went down. So, if you look closely when Kiki is standing above the gang, you'll see that Gus already has the illusion rings around his wrists activated. In the same exact moment, you also see Luz grab Willow out of the way of the Abomatron in a flash of yellow light, giving away Hunter's identity with his unique brand of magic. A few moments later, when Gus casts Darkness, you can see that Luz has a gap in her teeth, just like Hunter's. And then after Kikimora jets off, you can see Hunter inspecting his new Luz hands. So yeah, Belos has Ida and Luz for the Day of Unity just like he wanted, and everything seems horrifically doomed. But let's talk about something happy for a second, like Luz's new Palisman. After carving and painting her Palistrom wood, Luz and Ida have made a pretty blue egg with a mystery creature inside. Neither one of them know what Luz's Palisman will be when it hatches, but that's the whole point. Luz wanted her Palisman to be able to choose what kind of magical being it wanted to be, just like she did when she arrived on the Isles. And if you look at the Good Witch Azura's staff on all those book covers, the bauble at the end looks mighty similar to Luz's blue egg. But that's not gonna stop me from speculating about what her cute, sweet, perfect baby might look like. I'm still leaning heavily towards Luz getting a winged companion like the rest of the Clawthorne family. But the possibilities are truly endless. I think it would be really cool to see Luz with a bat Palisman. Not only would it match her cell phone case from the human realm, I just know that the Bat Queen would be really happy to see Luz taking care of a sweet little bat baby. Finally, let's talk about that mystery code. Last week's code reads, Seething seas and puppet strings, he no longer dreams of kings. As above rush darkened skies, as below his... But after this ep, we now know that the next word is father. Okay, I'm sorry, but what? Whose father? King's father, the Titan? Could the Collector be the father? As in the father of the Boiling Isles or the father of magic itself? And what's gonna come after that? Below his father, what? Lies, cries, tries, dies, eats a lot of pecan pies? Okay, that last one is probably not it, but I guess we'll have to wait until next week to find out. These are just some of my theories from Clouds on the Horizon, but I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Seriously, did anyone else think that that scene with the cats was sus? Or am I totally reading too much into a plant decoration? Like and subscribe to our channel for more Owl House and to talk about it with us. I'm Scarlet Wit, and you're watching WhitneyVision.